Why am I going all in on YouTube as I'm going into 2025? So right now it's Halloween actually in October of 2024. And as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I'm restarting my YouTube channel and I'm actually making it my main focus for where I'm going to put my social media energy and my social media attention. And so I wanted to come on and make this video to answer that question, why? Why YouTube? Why, after 5 years of making Instagram and Facebook like my main focus for having a social media presence, am I now switching and I'm changing to YouTube, okay? And this did not come as a sudden decision. This did not come as just an overnight fly-by-night decision. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. This is something that I've been researching for a while, and it's something that I'm actually really excited about too, okay? So I'll break this video down kind of into two parts. Maybe the first part is going to be like why I've decided to move away from Facebook and Instagram. And I lump, by the way, Facebook and Instagram together because they're both currently owned, and I'm sure they will continue to be forever, but they're both part of the Meta universe, right? The Mark Zuckerberg universe. Instagram and Facebook are linked. So first part of this video, I'm going to talk about why basically they're no longer doing it for me. I'm no longer excited as much as I used to be to post content and to share content on Instagram and Facebook. And then I'll talk about why I think YouTube is a really great place to be. Maybe not necessarily for everybody, but I think it's a really good fit for me. And I think if you're watching this, probably there's a very good chance that it's a fit for you. And I'll talk a little bit about why I think that is. Before I get into those two themes, I do want to talk about just the role that social media in general has played in my business development and in my business growth and in my success as a business person and as a coach over the last 5 years. So I started my coaching company and my training company in late 2019. And when I started it, one of the first things I did was started growing a presence on Facebook. And not long after that, I grew a presence on Instagram. And very quickly, those two things became my number one source of clients and students, my number one source of leads, my number one source of traffic and attention for my business. And I'm super grateful that that did happen because I don't know where my company, where my business, where my revenue, where my life would be right now if that weren't the case. So definitely, grateful to those platforms for the role that they played in my business development and in my personal development over the years. So, I'm not just, coming to you and sharing this opinion as like a regular social media user. I want it to be clear, like I use social media as part of my marketing strategy and as part of my business growth and client attraction strategy in general, okay? So why is it, even with the success I've seen on those platforms, on Instagram and on Facebook, that I've decided to move away from them? And for all the advantages that Instagram and Facebook have, there's lots of people on there. They're powerful platforms. They're feature-rich platforms where you can share different types of content. You can connect with people in different ways. You can connect with lots of people from all over the world, all that good stuff, of course. And you can do all of that, or a lot of that, on YouTube. But what I noticed is that there's a lot of things on those platforms that are a little bit stifling, okay? And it's not necessarily the fault of the platform or the fault of the people who run those platforms, but it's just that Instagram and Facebook, one of their strengths is that there's so many users on there. So as a business owner, there's so many potential clients on there. But because these platforms have grown so big and they're so feature rich, it's almost like there's this ongoing war between the platform, the people running the platforms, and the people who are oversaturating or maybe abusing these platforms. And so that comes and rears its head, so to speak, in the form of restrictions and what I would call stifling of normal users, right? So let me give you a quick example. Sometimes on Facebook, in the past, I had made a post saying, hey, I have this resource, and that's like a lead magnet. I've made a PDF or, some kind of mini training, and I want to share it with people so that people can self-identify as leads for my business, right? And so I'll make a post, on Facebook or in one of my private groups, just saying, hey, I've created this resource, who wants it? And then sort of my normal standard operating procedure would be to anybody who says they want it to send them a direct message giving them that resource, right? And that therein starts a conversation with that person that, now they're a lead basically, and I could potentially get their email address or invite them to other stuff, whatever. The problem is because there's so many like bots and spammers and people on Facebook just constantly sending everybody messages with either advertisements or scam attempts or whatever, Facebook has no choice but to like put sanctions and put controls and slow down the flow of messages on their platform. And so a person like me who's not doing anything wrong, I'm just conducting my business using the platform the way, most people try to use it. And as soon as, I have a resource or an offer that's kind of popular that necessitates me to send lots of messages to interested people, well, all of a sudden, I've sent too many messages and now I've lost my ability to send messages for 24 hours or 72 hours. Okay. And that happened to me a few times. So, the platform, and that's just one example of many, of the platform literally stifling a user from communicating with their own followers. This is not me cold messaging strangers. This is people who are in my groups responding to my content that I'm trying to, reply to, and it's sanctioning me just for doing that, right? And the same thing goes with like responding. If I got a lot of comments on a particular post, it was a popular post, trying to go through it and reply to everybody. Oops. You've replied to too many of your own comments, and now you can't do anything on your account for 12 hours or 24 hours or 72 hours. And as a business owner and as somebody who's committed to offering a good experience to the audience that comes and follows me, that's totally unacceptable. That's not something that I can put up with, to be quite frank. And and there's similar stuff on Instagram, right? Instagram works a little bit differently, but one of the issues that I think a lot of people run into, and one of the complaints that I've heard from a lot of people on Instagram is that you could have hundreds or you could have thousands of followers, and just because there's such a saturation of content, there's so many people pumping so much content onto Instagram at any given time. I have 7,000 plus, or at the time of making this video, I have 7,000 plus followers on Instagram. I'll post something and sometimes like 100 of them might see it. Like it's this tiny little fraction. And again, I don't blame the platform. If you think about the average person that's following you on Instagram, you're probably not the only person they're following. They're probably following dozens, hundreds, or potentially even thousands of people. So Instagram, there's just not enough time in the day for Instagram to show those people all of the content that all of the people that they were following put out in a given day. And so, for all of those reasons, and one more big reason, which is called content fade. And content fade is basically the effective shelf life of content that you produce for a platform, right? So content fade means how long or how many days, weeks, or months is it likely that the platform is going to push your content to be consumed by users before it stops doing it completely or mostly, right? And so if you posted a lot on Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't matter how good your piece of content is, you post it, the most viewership it's going to get, the most consumption it's going to get is within the first couple of days, right? And after that, it's going to be, a swift decline in how many people are seeing or consuming your content, okay? So those were some of the frustrations that I faced and that I think a lot of users have faced with Instagram in previous years, right? And that brings me to the next topic in this video, which is why I'm deciding to divert my social media energy to YouTube. Some people think that YouTube is not a social media platform. It very much is a social media platform, by the way. Anyways, because YouTube doesn't have a lot of those problems or any of those problems, to be honest with you. The thing about stifling the DMs, well, YouTube doesn't have a messaging feature. So, that's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, maybe it would be nice to have a messaging feature, but what happens is it forces you, if you are gonna, directly communicate with people who follow you on YouTube, you have to find a way off platform to do that. And here's the good news. The simplest way to do that is with email, right? And email is a means of communication that exists outside of the platform and therefore outside of any sanctions, restrictions, or stifling that the platform might impose, right? So if people are following me on YouTube and I get their email address and I start emailing them, there's nothing, there's no one, there's no mechanisms in place to prevent my messages from getting to those people who have shown interest in my business and my services, so that's the messaging thing. In terms of content fade, YouTube does not have this massive problem, which is content fade, because YouTube will continue to push content as long as people are searching for the information that is included within your video content that you post on YouTube. As long as people continue to want that information, whether they're your follower or not, YouTube is going to continue to push your video content to users. There's videos from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, longer, that were posted on YouTube and contain good quality, still relevant information, and those videos are still getting new views on a weekly, on a daily basis. Not necessarily my videos yet, because I haven't been posting on YouTube long enough to take advantage of that, but there's countless examples of that on the platform. So this problem of content fade just doesn't exist here on YouTube, which means if you're taking the time to make good content and you're spending your time and your energy creating this good content and you're putting it on YouTube, well, good news. It's not just going to go to waste after a few days and be totally ignored and, drift in or dissolve into the background of social media land. Okay, so we talked about the content fade, we talked about the stifling, we talked about the reach. The other thing, and this is one thing that I haven't actually heard a lot of people talk about, but it's really important, is the barrier of entry to be on YouTube is higher than other social media platforms. The barrier of entry to be on YouTube is higher than on other social media platforms. And here's what I mean by that. On Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok to a degree, pretty much every other platform, really anyone who wants to can just make an account and pump as much content onto their account as they want with little effort and little skill and have an account and contribute to the saturation of that platform, right? And I'm not complaining about that. I think social media platforms in general should be accessible, but it's not quite so easy on YouTube. On YouTube, it's not going to work for you to just create an account and with zero effort pump as much content as you can onto the platform, because it's just not going to get anywhere. Remember, if there's not information and value inside the content you're putting on YouTube, people are just not going to consume it, right? And your channel is not going to proliferate. So what this means is that for people who are willing to overcome this barrier of entry of making good quality video content, because making good quality video content is very different than making a graphic in Canva and putting it on Instagram. It's very different than just writing a text post and putting it on Facebook, right? For people who are willing to, overcome the barrier of entry to make decent quality to be on YouTube, you're going to be rewarded with an environment that, first of all, has less competition, in my opinion, by the way, and that rewards merit, okay, that rewards quality, and not necessarily like hyper polished gaming the algorithm with hacks quality, like actual valuable content, sharing actual wisdom, sharing actual content that people actually want to consume because of its merit, its value, the impact that it can make, the information that you're sharing, right? So it gives people who have, the courage and the boldness to actually share valuable information without any tricks, without any hacks, without any of that other stuff that is very common on other platforms. It gives you an opportunity to actually be heard, right? Without having to play that game of gaming the algorithm or whatever. I mean, just look at, what's doing really well on Instagram right now. It's these 3-second to 5-second reels, which is just a looping video, and it just says read the caption, right? That's clearly, somebody, and not just somebody, many users realizing, oh, okay, rather than working hard to make a video that, where I share tremendous value, I just need to make this looping thing and follow this formula to game the algorithm, and I'm gonna see massive growth, right? That's not happening here on YouTube as far as I can tell, right? The people who are winning are the ones who are being authentic, being genuine, sharing real value, right? So anyways, so talked about why, Instagram and Facebook, and again, Instagram and Facebook are great. If you love Instagram and Facebook and you're doing well there and, you're getting attention on your stuff, great. I would say keep doing it. But for me, it was becoming less and less worth the trouble. I was enjoying it less and less. And I'm somebody that likes to talk. I'm somebody that doesn't mind being on video. I'm somebody that likes, hitting record and sharing what I have to say and doing my best to help people, reach their goals, grow their business, grow their coaching business or empire, whatever the case may be for you. And so, I've been attracted to this YouTube platform for a long time. On top of that, in addition to the research, and all the learning I've been doing about the platform, two things. There's a certain simplicity to YouTube that I really like, right? Like on Instagram, on Facebook, there's 100 different things you can be doing on there. You can be doing reels, you can be doing static content, you can be doing stories, you can be doing groups, you can be doing pages, you can be doing personal profiles, you can be doing group chats, you can be doing subscriptions. Like there's 100 different features on Facebook and 100 different features on Instagram. And it can be a little overwhelming for a lot of people. Which features do I use? Which features do I not use? On YouTube, it's like a lot more simple of an ecosystem. You make a video, you have a title, you have a thumbnail, you do your best on all three, you put them on the platform. If you make a video, you make a decent thumbnail, you make a decent title, and you do that over and over, you can build yourself a very nice presence on YouTube. Those are, there's 3 fundamental components. And then if you want to get fancy, you can have shorts too. Like those are the working parts. Those are the elements that you need to master to be successful here. And I think there's an elegance to that, okay? And then the other thing was, right as I was in the midst of, am I gonna do this YouTube thing? Am I gonna change my social media strategy to YouTube? I was at a conference, a hypnotherapy conference in Detroit. It was the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. And for those of you that don't know, I am also a hypnotherapist, okay, and a trainer of hypnotherapy as well as NLP. That actually, when I first started my business, most of what I was doing was teaching coaches how to use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy, and another modality called timeline therapy, before I moved into more of the business coaching stuff. So anyways, earlier this year, I was in Michigan. I was in Detroit for the Michigan Hypnotherapy or Hypnosis Conference, it was called. And I met one of the biggest YouTubers in my industry, in the NLP and coaching industry, who happened to be there giving a presentation about YouTube and about how he had utilized YouTube to grow his business and how it had changed his life and how much success he'd had and what his thoughts on the platform were. And it kind of confirmed everything that I had suspected about this platform, about YouTube. And it kind of confirmed that everything I'd been thinking, not only was it right, like here's a living, breathing example of somebody who literally is in the same niche as me and who has already, walked that path, has already gone down that YouTube path and is absolutely reaping the benefits and advocating for it as well. So big thank you to Damon Cart for that presentation you did at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. That was tremendous and very timely for me. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video. That's why after 5 years in business, successful years, I'm going all in with YouTube, and I guess you could call me a YouTuber now. Okay. So anyways, if you like this video, like the video, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want to get on my email list, just drop the word email in the comments, because I share stuff in my email list that I don't share here on this channel. So if you're interested in coaching, growing your coaching business, and all that good stuff, or NLP as well, make sure you drop the word email below, and I'll give you instructions to get on the list. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.